In this video, we're going to take a look at some new color filters as well as color updates here in Substance Alchemist. So to get started, I'm going to come over to Add Layer and I'm going to do a search for color, and you can see here that we have this replace color. Let's start with this option. So we're going to add the replace color filter. Now in the parameters, I have this channel selection and I have this drop down and it lets me see all of the channels in my document. In my case, and typically you're going to want to adjust or replace color for the base color channel. So here in the 2D view, I have this manipulator, this little 2D widget, and I can actually click and drag this around. This is basically like my target source for this replace color operation. So I'm going to select this green moss area. Then if I take a look, I have my mode, and this allows me to set my mode. In my case, I'm going to be adjusting hue, saturation, and lightness. I could also choose to replace with a solid color. Now you'll notice we also have our mask range and softness, and we're going to edit these in just a second. So here, let's get started by just adjusting the hue. So I'm going to make a hue adjustment. I can start to see a change is taking place. But now my mask needs to be tweaked just a bit. So let's adjust the range and let's also adjust the softness. Now this range value is set to 1, but we can actually overdrive this. So I'm going to set this to a value of say 2. And then once again, just make a little change here to the softness. Now I can always make a change to the target source as well. So in the 2D view, I'm just going to grab and just make a few sample adjustments here to, kind of more closely pinpoint the color ranges that I want to work with. So I'm going to do, say, something like this. And then again, I can go in and just continue to play around with my mask softness and range. Okay, so let's say that we have this mask pretty much in place. Again, I'm just going to play around a little bit with the hue, maybe decrease the saturation and my overall lightness. And there we go. I have this replace color, and this operation has been performed here on this base color channel. Now let's take a look at maybe another option. In this case, I'm going to come over here to the channel selection and I'm going to choose roughness. And here in the 2D view, let's look at our roughness output. Now I'm going to grab my target source manipulator and I'm just going to try to choose an area that basically represents the value, the roughness value for the rock. Then I can come in and switch my mode. In this case, I'm going to switch it to solid color, and this just gives me this target value, which represents kind of my grayscale values. Now I can go in and start to play around with my mask range and kind of dial this in to get exactly what I want. So I'm going to start with maybe this value close to, we'll say 0.45. And then we'll play around here with the overall target value. And as you can see, I'm able to replace my roughness value specifically to this area, which represents the rock. And if I want to try to fine tune the target source, I can always just grab the 2D manipulator here and set a value. So now I have my target value, and you can see that I'm pretty much targeting just the rock area. So now we're going to take a look at the color variation filter. Here I will come up to add a layer and let me do a search for color once again. This time we're going to use color variation. Now we've updated this node to include this new segmentation control, which gives me a drop down, and this allows me to choose a specific channel, which drives the color mapping for the channels indicated here by the color count. So for example, if I switch this to say something like roughness, you'll see that I get a completely different result than using something like base color. So now I'm going to drop the color count to a value of 4, and now I can come into each one of these colors and I can start to just change different colors. This allows me to remap, just get different color variation, and again, it's all being driven by the roughness information coming in, and this is how I'm actually able to colorize this. It's a great way to produce some really quick color variation for your materials. So now we're going to take a look at the new Colorize filter. Let's add a layer and we'll do a search for color and we'll choose Colorize. So this filter is going to allow me to tint whichever channel I have selected here in the channel selection dropdown. Here you can see I have base color, normal, and emissive. We're going to be working with base color. Now for the color swatch, we'll go in and choose a color value, and then I can use the intensity slider to basically dial this up and down. Now, what's really helpful about this filter is that we have this custom mask option. So if I enable this here, I now have my paintbrush. Once I activate the brush, I can then go in and I can actually paint a mask to basically colorize very specific areas or elements. This is really helpful when you're working with an atlas. It allows me to go in and just colorize very specific elements within that atlas. Again, a really great way to get some additional variation here for my materials. That is going to close out this video. We checked out two new filters, Replace Color and Colorize, and we also checked out the updated segmentation function in the color variation filter, which allows you to choose a specific channel to drive the variations. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you next time.